big three tonight as LeBron James and Chris Bosh out of the lineup. Dwayne Wade returns to the team after missing 27 games due to injury. But that little tidbit doesn't matter to the Washington Wizards. They hope to come away to a victory and give their fans something to cheer about as they will play in their final home game of the season.
I mean, Andre's he sees a lot of things. There's a reason why he's been in the league for 15 years, and not just Brad. I think he really helps all that whole unit out. I mean, he got Al as good as looks tonight as he's seen in a long time. But Brad and he do have a good little chemistry there with when Brad comes back in with that unit.
You can't fault them for that. I mean, with the seating that they're at now, we wouldn't complain either if we were in the same position. So, I mean, at the same time, yeah, we wish we could have competed against them with all their guys, but we play against whoever, and we did that tonight. We got a great win. I think the biggest thing we did well was we sustained our lead and we continued to build on it. We didn't let them back into the game. We continued to put pressure on them on both ends of the floor, and that's something we got to continue to do. If we get in that situation in the playoffs, we know it probably won't be the same thing, but at the same time, whenever we get up to a great lead, we got to be able to sustain it and get stops and share the ball on offense. We're not always going to shoot the ball well. Of course, everybody goes through their little slump or whatever you want to call it, but us guys, we take the open shot and we shoot it with confidence. And tonight was a great night for us, shooting-wise, and it's terrific for us close to playoffs. Hopefully, we can continue to shoot the same way.
Got a lot of good looks, with John penetrating, and everybody getting in the paint. They leave me open, so and I haven't been hitting shots lately, so I guess they just collapsed, and I was one that was open.
It's not about me. My job is to give them just to make sure that they're ready and prepared. That's what I'm going to do. The best I can do, no matter who it is we play. We still don't know who we're,
A couple playoff games and seen it, so I wanted to watch Chris Paul and Mike Conley go the last 2 years, so I know what to expect and how it's going to be, but it's totally different when you got down the court for the first time instead of watching from the stand. Touch the ball. The first time you touch the ball, I think whenever you're playing basketball, you're probably always nervous before every game, but once the ball touch your hand, you cool out, you be all right.
You nervous?
No, I'm not really nervous as much, but yeah, you got your jitters when you step on that court, to be honest, you know what I mean? So I know it's going to be a lot of excitement the first time we had the playoffs in 4 to 5 years here, so it'd be pretty big for us.
That's the way I'm going to feel. The good thing, I try pushing myself, try helping the team, and I'm in the right direction. I'm going to take advantage on this last game and see what I can do.
The outcome is it's going to be special. It's going to be guys that haven't been in the playoffs yet will remember that first game forever because it is so distinct and different. But we also have to channel that in the right way and be ready to play. That's the main thing.
The Washington Wizards taking care of business tonight, beating the Miami Heat 114-93. The next time they'll be at home, it'll be the playoffs. I got you covered, so I know you'll be here. For the Roundball Report, I'm Mykell Ramos. Back to you all in the studio.
So we are here back in the studio getting ready to speak NBA. We are joined in the studio with Coach Jimmy Fly Hellman of HSCRN. I don't think I got that right, but via phone we also have Christy Winters-Scott of CSN.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And Coach Fly and Christy. And Christy, we got to start with you. Congratulations. I know it's got to be exciting to not just have meaningful playoff basketball, but despite the difficulties and technical challenges in the pregame show, to be able to bask in the glory of a very professional and thorough playoff victory in Game 1.
Well, I tell you what, sometimes when I'm talking or throwing out to a commercial or something like that, I get so fired up because, when you're from the D.C. area, you just want the home teams to do well, and that's just genuinely being a fan of the team. And so just to see the young players have an opportunity not only to compete in the playoffs, but win their first game. Bradley Beal's 20 years old and John Wall's 23. So these guys, they'll never forget that. They've made a memory because of their hard work. But it was the bench, that really came in and did a good job in terms of keeping the team afloat and giving them a fighting chance in Game 1. And Andre Miller, in the third quarter, he really did a good job of being the linchpin for the team. And, they just had a collective effort. So it wasn't just about the two leading scorers and the young guns, but it was about everyone collectively stepping up, and it's exciting to see. So I try to contain it a little bit, but, I let some of it out.
And Coach Fly, we were talking throughout, and you have really been high on this team, especially with the acquisitions, the veteran acquisitions of Andre Miller. And you said the key was going to be a healthy Nene, and all the talk on the national front was, well, this young, inexperienced team is not going to be ready for the playoffs. The two young guys really did show that they weren't up to the game, but it was the veterans and Nene, Andre Miller, Trevor Ariza, those guys that have a bevy of playoff experience, they carried them through and got them through game one.
Well, trust me, Coach Thibodeau for Chicago knew the playoffs experience the Wizards do have. He said in his pregame, the Wizards aren't inexperienced. They have 6 guys with 40-plus playoff games on their roster. 2 guys that played in the NBA Finals, and Ariza won a title with the Lakers. So when you have Ariza, Gortat, Nene in that back line, that's where the leadership comes from. Everybody wants to put it on Wall, and to an extent, he's emerging, growing into that role leader. But these are hard-nosed, savvy veterans that have been through the wars and know how to get it done. As she said, Andre Miller, huge, with Wall on the bench. They couldn't have done that early in the season because they had no bench. Another guy that they didn't use, Gooden, I'd like to see him get more minutes because exactly, Booker did not play well to me. But the Wizards had 6 guys in double figures. The Wizards, the key to me is Chicago only averages 94 points on the season. The Wizards are more than capable of scoring 100 points. If they score 100 points and play solid, fundamental defense, which if you watch that fourth quarter, they were closing out shooters hard and rebounding. The Wizards got a chance to win the series.
And Christy, that was one of the things I noticed from the jump was the defensive effort intensity John Wall showed from the beginning. If you recall in the All-Star game, his pressure on the opposing point guard turned that game around, and I saw him from the opening tip forcing Heinrich to start their offense out well extended, which already made it even more difficult for an already offensively challenged team. If they keep that defensive effort and intensity, and then you expect Bill and Wall to grow more comfortable in their offensive games throughout, it does not look well for Chicago, despite what the pundits said before the series.
Right, and everyone was talking about, there's so much more experience on the Chicago bench, but that's great. However, if you have something to counter that, which John Wall does, which is his speed and tenacity on the defensive end, then you've got yourself a challenge. And I think that Chicago now, down 1 game, sees exactly what that is. And you think about John Wall and you think about, he controls the tempo offensively. You think about him stealing and scoring the basketball, but you don't really think of him as a defense-first player, which he is. And he controls the tempo from that end just as well as he does on the offensive end. So a lot of respect has to go to John Wall on the defensive end as well as the offensive end. And, he had those 16 points, 6 assists, but he also had 6 rebounds. So he was getting his nose in there from the point guard position, getting hustle plays. And that's what Washington needs for him to do. And a couple more assists here and there may be good for him. But at the same time, I think if he can just disrupt things on the defensive end, his points and assists, everything else on top of that is gravy.
So, Christy, do you think once the rookies' nerves have calmed down and we're playing some consistent defense that the Wizards can sweep this series?
Sweep? I hope so. I mean, I think that would be such a confidence booster for the second round of the playoffs. But I think what the young players needed to see was that their hard work, especially in the second half, paid off. And I think that's going to be a confidence booster going into Game 2. And when you think about how they didn't shoot their free throws well, they were 12 of 21 in the first half and didn't miss a free throw in the second half. So, they got better on boxing out, not allowing those second-chance points. And those 2 things killed them in the first half. But yet they were still in a 3-possession game at halftime. So the young players have that confidence, yes.
So basically the Wizards need to be consistent from from the tip to the end of the game. If we get some consistency, then there is a possibility they could sweep this series.
Well, let's take it one game at a time. And Coach, speaking about coaching, I mean, one of the other things that people thought that Thibodeau gets a great credit and richly deserved for his ability to get Chicago to grind it out and for strategic differences. But you have to give credit to Randy Whitman. Not only did he have the guys mentally prepared, but he was able to emotionally able to control them through those ties. If you recall, when Chicago came out the second half and jumped out to that 13-point lead, he let the guys have it into that timeout, and he got them focused on staying away from referees, as he said in the post-game show. And he actually more than held his own against Thibodeau in that game, which helped lead the team to victory.
He did. You got to give Coach Whitman credit. You got to give Ernie Grunfeld credit for putting the pieces together that they didn't have early in the season, especially bench-wise. But in that game, when they went down in the second half and then they were able to grind through and fight through, that's playoff basketball. You're going to have ebbs and flows and runs in the game. And for them to be able to knuckle down on the road against hostile crowd and everything else and get it done, that's huge for them mentally. But the trick is you cannot rest on that, because now you got a wounded dog, so to speak, in Chicago. They're going to come out in this game, too, and play it like a Game 7. Because if you lose both games on your home floor, you're in huge trouble. So they're going to get their best punch on Tuesday. The Wizards, if they can respond to that, take that blow early, and sustain and have a chance of winning in the fourth quarter, the Wizards have the offensive capabilities to overcome Chicago's defense.
And Christy, if you're the Wizards and you know that Chicago's going to come out fighting for their lives, how do you withstand the mentality if Chicago jumps out to early, say, oh, okay, well, we accomplished our objective, and really keeping their pedal to the metal, realizing that there'll be 2 days off between games 2 and 3, so they can sell out to try to get that 2-0 lead on the opposing team's home court?
Right. I think what they've learned from Game 1 is that number one thing, we need to make our free throws, because, I mean, to get 21 free throws in the first half, I mean, that's an aggressive number of attempts from the line. So you know that they're trying to get the ball inside. You know they're attacking the rim, which is a great thing, but now they need to make Chicago pay for that. You know, they're not going to give up anything easy at the rim. So I think the way Nene came out in the first quarter, he was just blistering from the floor, had 14 early points, but I thought that they established him right out of the jump, and I thought that was fantastic, and I think that's going to be something that the Wizards need to do. They need to establish Gortat inside and Nene inside, and then if they can get their 3-ball falling a little bit better, I think they'll be in great shape. But it's also going to be who can control the tempo in terms of getting up and down the court. You know that Chicago wants to squeeze the clock and try to control the game that way in terms of tempo by shooting under 10 seconds on the shot clock. And the Wizards, they want to get up and down the floor. So I think it bodes well for Washington in terms of what they were able to accomplish in the second half. And if they could carry that over and pick it up a couple of notches and correct some things on the offensive end, I think they'll be in great shape for a win in Game 2.
And speaking about a win, we don't know about sweep, Coach, but you were already after a very surprising, interesting, shall we say, first weekend of the playoffs where 5 road teams win. Break it first here, and Christy, hold your seat. He's going to tell you his predictions for the Eastern Conference playoffs moving forward.
All right, Christy. Now, some people might say I'm going out on a limb. Others might say I'm up on a skyscraper on a ledge with 50-mile wind blowing in. But I've said all along that I think Brooklyn would face Miami, and they tanked to get there after Miami tanked, losing to the Wiz. But they double tanked, which actually helped the Wizards. But I think if Brooklyn goes head-to-head with Miami, I think they'll win. They will be in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I text, this is documented, it's on my text. I sent Andrew a text before the playoffs started. I said, I'm going with the Wiz against Brooklyn in the Eastern Conference Final. Please tune up the fat lady and bring her back. Because the last time the Wizards made the NBA Final, the fat lady was singing.
You hear that, Christy?
I hear him talking. Yeah, I hear him talking. But I like the Wizards being being in there. But Brooklyn, I don't know if they have the legs to sustain a 7-game series to the finals. I don't know if they can do it physically.
Right. Well, Christy, I know that you're going to enjoy the ride. Technical difficulties to the side. As long as the Wizards keep playing like they did, you'll be doing plenty of pre and post game shows on CSN and always showing the love here at the Roundball Report. And Coach will have you back to follow up on your predictions. All right. Great job, Christy. Thanks a lot.